Welcome back to Game Talk 24/7. I'm your host, Josh Cunningham. Before we get to the video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and like the video. It really means a lot. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, don't be afraid to comment down below. Without further ado, let's talk sports. Hey guys, welcome back to Game Talk 24/7. Today we got another different little bit type of video today. Today we're going to talk about the most frequent asked questions about sports, particularly college sports and college football right now because we're getting to the college football playoff. Question number one is not about the college football playoff per se. It is, will Lane Kiffin win a national championship at LSU now that he left Ole Miss to go to LSU. So in my past video I talked about Lane Kiffin's documentary, The Many Lives of Lane Kiffin, the ESPN documentary, and I kind of reviewed that documentary to talk about Lane Kiffin going to LSU. Now we see Lane Kiffin at LSU. Does Lane Kiffin have what it takes to win at the highest level at LSU, meaning winning a national championship at LSU? Because that's the standard. Les Miles did it. Nick Saban did it. Now Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time, but besides Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron did it. And Ed's not the most special coach of all time. So you see all these coaches that did it, and they did it at LSU, just like, besides Brian Kelly, the three coaches before Brian Kelly all won a national championship. That's why Brian Kelly got fired so soon into his, when I say soon, that's why Brian Kelly got fired this year, earlier into his career than some might have expected or anticipated, because he's expected to win a national championship at LSU, just like the coaches before him did, and he did not. And so, again, you get to Lane Kiffin. Will he win a national championship at LSU? He'll have all the talent and the ability, player-wise and recruiting-wise and money-wise, at his disposal to do it. The question is, can he do it as a staff and as a coach? I think Lane Kiffin has all the talent and ability to be a really good coach and win a national championship one day. Will he be at LSU long enough, though, to do that? Because Lane Kiffin always likes to move and go to the next best thing. So who knows? If Alabama, let's say, this is just hypothetical, it's not going to happen probably, but if Alabama opened up in 3 years, Kalen DeBoer gets fired, they not win a national championship like they want, they need a coach. Lane Kiffin would take that job in a heartbeat. If a good scenario in the NFL opened up, Lane Kiffin would go to the NFL most likely and take that job in a heartbeat. He looks out, he goes where the money is. Most of the time, he looks out, well, you could say for himself, but he goes to wherever the next best thing is. Lane Kiffin's not going to be someone that stays at somewhere for 10 to 20 years. He goes to wherever the next best thing is. And who knows? But at the time he's at LSU, he might not have been at LSU long enough to reach his full potential and win that national championship. Now, I think he had the ability to do that at Ole Miss. For instance, Joel Klatt said on Big Noon Kickoff, right before the Ohio State game, he's talking to Lane Kiffin. He's saying, Lane, if you want to win a national championship and you really think it's all about winning championships, it's not about the money, then stay where you're at. Look in the mirror, because you have the ability to do that this year at Ole Miss. While they may not have been the best team in college football, and they may not be the team that's going to win the national championship, they had a really solid team, and they were trending upward every year at Ole Miss. So it would be eventually to where something that he built himself would win a national championship. Now he goes to LSU, who's been good under multiple different coaches, had Les Miles win a national championship, Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, all won national championships there. Now you have Lane Kiffin. Brian Kelly didn't, but now you got Lane Kiffin. And he's got to kind of fix what Brian Kelly broke a little bit, but he's also just got to succeed at a program that's had success in the past and anticipates and expects success. So with that being said, Lane Kiffin likes challenges. He's got a fantastic offense, let alone aside personal opinions on Lane Kiffin and Lane Kiffin as a person. I'm not saying he's a bad person either, but Lane Kiffin, some of the choices he's made as a coach to go where he has career-wise, set those aside and just look at him as a coach. He's a decent coach. Well, he may not have won a national championship before, or he may not have won a college football playoff game. It may not have been in the college football playoffs until the team he had this year would be going, and he won't be on that team. So he still hasn't been technically. The team he coached has, this year, but he technically himself wouldn't have coached in the playoffs yet. You look at that and you say, okay, will he get there? I think so. I think he has the ability to win one someday. That someday is not today. Someday meaning maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, Lane Kiffin and LSU figure it out and they do it. The question again, though, is will he be at LSU long enough to do that? The second biggest question that most people are asking is, who will win the national championship? Right now, I'm an Ohio State fan for one. Grown up, lived in Ohio my whole life. So I'm obviously going to say Ohio State. But when you also just look at all the other teams. Ohio State looks like the most complete team. Joe Klatt says it. J.D. Pickell says it. Josh Pate says it. They'll all say how Ohio State looks like the most complete team. They have the best offense and defense in college football. And when I say offense, they might not score the most points per game. But you watch them on offense, you're like, man, they're not even really trying. They're just out there being slow and efficient, not even really getting deep in their bag yet. They're not trying that much. On defense, they're nasty. They get sacks. They disrupt plays. Colin Cowherd said they leave NFL-like windows for a quarterback to throw through, and they're in college. And it's not that they're an NFL defense or they're NFL-like players, but the system that they're playing in is an NFL system with Matt Patricia, and they're playing well in that system. And Matt Patricia has a team that has high IQ players, like Caleb Downs, like Arvell Reese. They all have high IQs, and they know how to play their position and do their role on the defense. So my pick, when it goes to the question of who will win the national championship, is Ohio State. But it's mostly between Indiana and Ohio State right now, so the two Big Ten teams. Who will win? Again, I'm probably going to pick Ohio State. You can maybe say Georgia, maybe Alabama, maybe. Alabama's a little bit further away. Same with Georgia, especially that game after. Georgia's been trending upward, and then they have the game against Georgia Tech. So the question is Georgia fixed? Are they not? Alabama, they looked like they were fixed a little bit, then they didn't, and they had a tough game against Auburn, squeaked by with a lucky fumble. Not lucky, but a good timing fumble, shall I say, at the end of the game that helped them secure that win against Auburn. I could say Oregon, but they got to get healthy. But I'm really saying Ohio State. I mean, they just look like the best team in college football right now. It's between them and Indiana, and they look better than Indiana. Their defense is better. It's more talented for one, but besides more talent, they have the better coach in Matt Patricia. Offense, they have, again, more talent. They have the two best players in all of college football, Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, on their respective sides of the ball. Jeremiah Smith being the best offensive player in college football, Caleb Downs being the best defensive player in college football. And then they have Julian Sayin, who is one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in college football. I would say he's the best quarterback in college football. Some might disagree, but Julian Sayin also has already broke history by having the highest completion percentage in a regular season, in regular season history, in one regular season in college football. So you just look at Ohio State's got the horses to run the race that Indiana doesn't have. Indiana's got a good team and they've got good players, but Ohio State's horses are slightly better than Indiana's. You got Indiana's here and Ohio State's here. Again, Ohio State's horses are just better. Their players are more talented. They're better, and they're well coached. They don't make mistakes. You saw Indiana have close games against Iowa, Oregon, and yes, a 10-point game. While it's not close against Oregon, and it was on the road, it's still close. And then again, especially against Penn State, and you see when they've played some teams with talent. While Penn State's not a good team, they've got a lot of talent. When they play some teams with talent, especially talented defenses, they've made some mistakes. Ohio State so far hasn't made mistakes. Or they don't beat themselves. You can say Julian Sayin threw an interception against Michigan. Yeah, he did. And then Michigan only scored 3. They didn't score a touchdown off of it. The defense held them to 3. Ohio State's down by 6, the biggest deficit they had all season, and came back and then won that game 27-9. So they don't make mistakes. So then you get to the next two biggest questions. So we're going to do a twofer here, 2 questions. Who will win the SEC championship? Who will win the Big Ten championship? Actually, we'll do a 3-fer. We'll do 4. Who will win the Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, and ACC? But we're going to start with the SEC. I'm going to go Georgia over Alabama. I think Kirby Smart's too good of a coach to lose to the same team twice in 1 year. I think he finally figures it out. Yes, Kirby Smart might have slightly of an Alabama problem because we saw it when Nick Saban was there. We saw it these last 2 games against Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. So he might have an Alabama problem, but I think Kirby Smart's going to figure it out, and I think he's not going to lose to the same team twice in one season. But that's going to be a close game. That's going to be a really good game. And Alabama should still get in the playoffs no matter what. They should be locked in. Even if they lose to Georgia and go to 3 losses, they should be locked in. Okay, those who's going to win the Big Ten championship. If I have Ohio State winning the national championship, I'm going to have them win the Big Ten championship against Indiana. I don't care if it's Indianapolis. Ohio State fans travel well. Indianapolis is not that far from Ohio. They travel well. And so when you think about it, Ohio State's been there before, and the tickets got sold before Indiana was guaranteed into the Big Ten championship. And so when you think about it, you see, okay, if you're Ohio State, you're like, okay, it's probably gonna be a 50-50. It's not gonna be a 70-30 or a 60-40. It's probably gonna be like 50-50 Ohio State and Indiana. And so then when you get to that point, it's gonna be a neutral site game. Ohio State's been to the Big Ten championship before. Indiana hasn't recently. When I say Ohio State, the program. These players might not have, but the program has. But some of these players, a lot of these players have been to a national championship. Not all of them, but a lot of them have been to a national championship and a college football playoff, so they know how the big games feel, and they know how to play on neutral sites in big games like that. Who will win the Big 12? I got Texas Tech. Texas Tech looks like a phenomenal team in the Big 12. They look like a top 6-7 team in the country, maybe 4 team in the country, but they look good. Texas Tech looks really good. They look better than BYU, but I could also see BYU maybe pulling off the upset to get their spot into the college football playoff. Because if they don't, if they lose, they're not getting in. So they got to win. So they're playing for their lives. Texas Tech's probably should be in no matter what. But I would pick Texas Tech. In the ACC, I'm taking Virginia all the way. I don't think 7-5 Duke's going to win the ACC. I get it. They only have 2 ACC losses. I don't think they're going to win the ACC. Now they can, but I expect Virginia to show up and play and get their automatic bid into the college football playoff. Because if Duke wins the ACC, you have chaos in the college football playoff bracket that just happens after that. And then lastly, one last question. Will Texas or Vanderbilt sneak into the college football playoff? Texas, probably not because they have 3 losses. It all comes down to what the committee decides on Sunday. Sorry, recording this Thursday. It's what they decide on Sunday after all the conference championships go down. So we'll look at it. Does Texas get in? Does Vanderbilt get in? Vanderbilt only has 2 losses. Do they sneak in if someone above them like Alabama loses? Or let's say someone like Texas Tech doesn't lose. Maybe they lose. Do they fall all the way? Probably not. But they shouldn't. But will they? Or like I said, does Bama? No, they should be in. But with the committee, you never really know. You could see Bama get out and Texas get in, or Vanderbilt get in. And should Texas be punished for that game against Ohio State? No. But what they should be punished for is losing to Florida. I don't care if it's at Florida. They lost to, yes, it's a team that's on the regular schedule. And if they didn't schedule Ohio State, they would have 2 losses. But that Florida loss is not a good loss. It is a bad loss. The Ohio State loss is a good loss. The Florida loss is a bad loss. Now, any losses are bad. But when you lose to a team like Florida and then you get your 3rd loss later on, I don't care if you beat Texas A&M. That doesn't mean you should get into the college football playoff. Now, if you take losses away and you just look at who they've beaten, then yes, they probably should sneak in as like the 12th team or the 11th team, like one of the last 2 teams in. But you could also say the same with Vanderbilt and some of the teams they beat. So will either of those 2 teams sneak in? I particularly, as I'm recording this Thursday, do not know. I don't think so. But again, it all comes down to what happens in the conference championships on Saturday and what the committee then does on Selection Sunday. That's Game Talk 24/7. Thank you guys for watching.